Alright, hello everybody. I'm back with another video. Today I'm going to be doing a review on one of the new X Plus figures that I bought. If you've seen the title, or just read, you probably already know what it is, but I'm going to actually do something a little bit different today, and I'm going to get behind the camera so you guys can have a better look at it. I'm just going to kind of go over all the details. The figures, the X Plus Yuji Sakai 1993 came out a couple months ago, or at least I received it a couple months ago through the pre-order. Oh wait, no I didn't. I did not pre-order that. I actually just bought it. So I got it a couple months ago. I think it came out early summer this year, but I figured I'd start to do some reviews and get them out of the way. So without much talking, I'm just going to get right into it. So let's go. Alright, so there's the figure in all of his glory. There's the wide shot that I can get here. As you can see, awesome figure, very accurate, as per usual with the Yuji Sakai kind of thing going on here. You kind of know how it goes if you've been collecting X Plus for a while. So just a basic overview, we got him kind of in a moderately hunched over stance. And as you can see, if we turn him a little more towards us here, we got just kind of your basic Godzilla pose. It works perfectly for the Heisei series. But yeah, just a little bit of a hunch over forward for him, which works perfectly for this movie. You can see that he's kind of looking down, closed mouth as well. That is important. That doesn't happen a whole lot. The eyes, you can see there, kind of looking down on us, and a very menacing look here. And then as you can see in the back here, the tail does curve upwards, which makes it a little easier for posing purposes, and that will save you some shelf room. So without further ado, I'm just going to start going down top bottom, and we're going to go into the figure in some more detail here. Alright, now that we've got a closer look here at the face here, let's just get right into it. As you can see, we got some nice sculpting going on here to make that face look real mad. Now, with the eyes, I think they're perfect. I think this is a perfect encapsulation of the 93 Sakai, or the 93 suit here. I think it's a perfect way to pose it. I love how they look down here, and it's just a great way to show off this suit here. Now, with the nose, we can see that kind of snarled look here. We got him kind of crunching his nose up there. Again, another perfect way to kind of demonstrate the angriness of Godzilla. Then we have your standard kind of ears at the top with some good molding once again, and kind of your rigid, I guess top of the head is what I'll call it. You got that rigid kind of thing going on there, which, again, very film accurate. Now, we're going to move down a little bit to the teeth. All right, here's a closer look at the teeth, which I believe are really well sculpted. Now, as far as coloration goes on here, and you can also see it better with the eye, so actually let's start with that real quick. So I'll zoom in here a little better on the eye so you guys can see a better look at that now that I'm a little more zoomed in. You can kind of see that it's yellow on yellow, meaning pupil, and then the white part of the eye is actually yellow. Now, that's a great way to kind of make the eyes seem big and small at the same time, because it doesn't make it look too wide-eyed, if that makes sense, because you don't see the whites. So it's a good way to kind of pinpoint that eye, and I love that. It's something I wish they would have done with the Burning Godzilla, made his eyes orange, or a little more orange than they are, because they are kind of an orange hue, a little tiny bit. But this is a much better way of doing it, and it really just is the Heisei look. If you look at the suit, same thing. It's a good way to do this. It's a perfect way to paint those eyes there. So we'll move back down to the teeth, as I was talking about earlier. So as you can see, teeth really well sculpted and painted. Now what we've got kind of going on is a light tan, brownish coloration to the teeth. Godzilla's teeth aren't going to be clean. They're not going to be white, and we don't want them to be white because that's not what he is. So we got those there painted like that, and you can see the gums are also painted a vibrant pinkish red. Again, perfect way to do this. It's just a great way to paint Godzilla's mouth. We want it to look dirty, messy, like he's been eating stuff. So I like that a lot. I think it's a good way to do this. Very good paint sculpt, or paint application here to showcase Godzilla's mouth in the right way. Now, we're just gonna keep moving on down through the figure. All right, we're gonna take a look at Godzilla's midsection here. Mostly his chest and his claws and hands. Now, as far as like the muscular shaping goes on this figure, Godzilla in this film is going to be a little thicker than most. He gets a little fatter compared to your 91 and 92 in this film. And a good way to represent that is through the middle section here. As you can see, it's pretty thick in all of the sections. We got some great muscle building to make him look strong. And we got that down pretty good here. I feel like Yuji Sakai did a great job in sculpting this. And same with the neck. If we move up a little bit here, you can see that Godzilla's neck is really thick, and that's one of the staples of the Heisei area, so it's really important to get this kind of area down to me. If we move back down, the claws, you can see are painted a bone white to black on the ends here. Not much else to say about that, as that's pretty much every standard Godzilla claw color that you see. Now, as far as the position of the hands, I like this pose a lot, and it's a good one to pick here. Alright, moving on to the legs and the feet here. Now, again, We're going to have a little bit of a mix between the skinniness of 92 and then where it starts to get a little more fat with 93. Not quite as fat as 94 is going to get. And it's also a little bit thinner than your 89 and 91. So you lose a little bit of that thickness to his legs. But that is suit accurate. So it looks really good here. And it's very accurate to the film, which in X Plus, this is what we're looking for here. Again, with the kind of the muscular building, we got a lot of muscles kind of going on here with the legs. And again, this is another important feature of the Heisei Godzilla. You really want to nail the kind of intimidation that he has with how he looks, meaning that he is always pretty muscular throughout the whole series in the Heisei films. And it's a very important thing that you want to get down in sculpting Heisei figures. This figure does that perfectly. It's a great encapsulation of the 93 suit. And as you can see, if we turn around, it's kind of the same thing the whole way around. And I'm just going to zoom in here on one of the feet, not both, because they're pretty much the same thing. We got the same coloration, almost exact to the hands, or his his hands. And it's again it's a little more yellow, I'd say. So we got kind of a tannish yellow and white to black. Same thing again going on. Again, not much else to say about the claws. This is pretty standard stuff for your X Plus figure if you've already got some. Alright, now to my favorite part of most X Plus figures. Well, not my favorite, but one of my favorites is I always love looking at his dorsal plates / spines. Whatever you want to call them, I call them dorsal plates. But here we have a coloration of kind of that bone white and then charcoal color in the middle. It kind of goes with the rest of his body. And going down, you just kind of have your standard, it gets like bigger. So the biggest one's going to be right here in the middle, as you can see. And then as you go down, they're going to get smaller, smaller, and smaller all the way to the tail. And they pretty much go into a grayish coloration here. And that's about it with those. They kind of don't have the white as much towards the end, but that again is standard stuff for your X Plus figure. And I love Heisei's dorsal plates. So anytime these get sculpted on a figure, I love it. And again, it's very accurate to the film. They really stay pretty consistent throughout the whole Heisei series. So they've got it down with, or Yuji Sakai has it down at this point with sculpting these Heisei figures' dorsal plates. And like I said earlier, we have a tail that kind of goes up, which makes things a lot easier to display. It's going to take up less room as far as adjusting it to your wall. And then one more thing that's important to point out with this figure. Some people hate this, some people don't care. I'm really one of the people who don't really care. Tail stand. It does have a tail stand, as you can see back there. Now, if you don't use the tail stand, I'll show you what it looks like. This guy's going to lean back really far. This is more exaggerated here than normal. Usually a figure won't stand back this far without the tail stand. Now, the reason it does, because generally in this film, his tail is pretty high half the time. So they had to model this guy's tail way above the ground, as you can see how I put it back there. That's pretty tall. I mean, compared to my hand, that's a pretty big tail stand compared to some. The 92 has about the same thing, but for example, some other Heisei figure or some other Showa figures will not have a tail stand this big. So keep in mind, if you don't like tail stands, this figure definitely needs it. It's going to be very hard to display without it. So keep that in mind. This is one of the bigger tail stands I have seen in a figure. And as far as coloration goes, just pretty much for the rest of the body, you have that standard charcoal gray that pretty much the entire Heisei line has up until Burning Godzilla, because, you know, obviously that's going to be a little different. So there's really not too much to say about coloration on this guy, other than he's got your standard charcoal gray, which again is going to be suit accurate and does work well. Alright, and being that this is the final release so far, or not the final release, this is the latest release so far of the Yuji Sakai Heisei line, so we're actually going to do a full-blown comparison to all of the Heisei line from Yuji Sakai. I don't have both versions of 91, so when I say all, I mean all years, but we're going to start doing that now because it is a comparison I do feel is needed. Alright, so here's our first comparison. We obviously have the 84 Sakai here. Now, these should all relatively be the same size. This is the same Godzilla. However, this technically, I think, should be a little shorter, which it is, because between, if you've seen the 91 movie, they do grow a little bit, or Godzilla grows a little bit. Not going to get into that, because that is a whole thing on itself for that plot of the movie. But generally, same Godzilla, I'm okay with it being the same size. So here we go with this one. This is the 84 Sakai. They're going to look good next to each other. Keep in mind, this is the same Godzilla, even though it doesn't really look like that if you're not too familiar. This is in movie lore and accurate lore, this is the same two Godzillas as the rest of them that I'm going to be showing here. So I'm not going to say anything from here on out. I'm just going to keep putting them down on the table so you guys can take a look. So I lied, I am going to start saying stuff because I do have stuff to say. Here's the 91 Sakai, my personal favorite of the line. These are almost the exact same height. The only reason this one is a little taller is because of the way 91 is posed with a more upright stance. Alright, here to me is the most similar of the 93. This is the 92. Fun fact, first X Plus I ever bought right here, in case you didn't know already. This is also the only other figure that needs a tail stand, so it is a little shorter actually, which is interesting. But this is the most similar one. You do have, now I'm looking at it especially, I can notice a different paint application on that guy there. Almost a little more blue. I don't know if that has anything to do with the sun, even though this is rarely in contact with any sort of sunlight, but it does seem to be a different kind of lighter color. So there's that. I had never realized that before. But yeah, these are going to be the most similar of the two, so there's your good luck at those. Alright, and this is going to be the final comparison here. We have the Burning Godzilla. Now, as you can see what I was talking about, you can see how big the eyes look on this guy here. Now, that is what I was talking about with the paint application. If they would have made that more orange, it probably looks a little smaller and bigger at the same time. But there's that comparison. This is going to be close again. Not as similar, but this is kind of more in the direction of the same style of suit here with how big he is. You can see he gets a little bigger. Also, this is definitely the tallest of the Sakai, I believe. It definitely feels the biggest. So there's your comparison with that. And again, you can see the tail sticking way far back. That was kind of a case with a lot of the Sakais that I brought down here. And there is your final comparison. So I think they look great next to each other. I love having them on display on my shelf. Now all we need is a 94 from Sakai. We're looking at you. We really want that. I can see it in the forums, people talking about it. I would love to have a 94, so let's make that happen somehow. That'd be awesome. But I'm going to put this guy back in the center and kind of give you my final thoughts. Alright, so there's your last look at him. Now, as far as final thoughts go, I know for some people it's hard to get your hands on every X Plus, just considering their price on them. They are kind of expensive. So whether or not do I think this is worth your money, I absolutely think so. This is definitely one of the best in the Sakai collection. I'd honestly put it third behind 91. Actually, yeah, I'd put it third behind 91 and 95. So I would pick this up. I was originally debating doing this between 1992 and 93 because I did think they were so similar. And they do look quite similar. However, when you get it in person, it's going to look a lot different. So if you're on the fence about that, there's definitely enough difference between the two of them to justify that purchase because boy, does this one stand out in the collection. I don't know if it's still available on Sideshow. That's where I picked this guy up from. There's also, I think, a version that is not this one. It is the Godzilla store exclusive. I do think that one's still available, at least the last time I checked. The only difference between that one, it's going to have blue spines rather than the white one. So if you had the chance to get this, I would before it goes on resale, and get it retail while you can, because this is worth your money. So there you go. That's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of style of video. And I will see you guys next time, and probably what I would assume is going to be an unboxing. At least hopefully. I hope this thing comes in soon that I'm thinking of. So I will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.